Hey everyone, this is Felicia with The Book is Done. It's been a while, I know. Please forgive my appearance. It's almost 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. But I had to come on and just talk about this book. I bought this book the other day, and ever since I saw it, I was just like, okay, it's something about this book that I just want to read. I have to read it. And it's a cute little book. And I said, I'm going to get this book and I'm going to read it. And when I started tonight, I was only on like page 29, I believe. And I just kept going. It was a total of 271 pages. And I just kept reading it. So, don't know if y'all have seen this book, but before the coffee gets cold, and I'm going to pronounce his name, Toshikazu Kawaguchi. I'm proud of myself for saying that. Toshikazu Kawaguchi. Before the coffee gets cold. So, from my understanding, there are two other books that are after this. I don't know the name of them, but they are on my wish list. But this little book right here, it's a cute little read. Before the coffee gets cold. I have like mixed feelings about the book. The book is a really nice and cute book. It's like 4 short stories inside of it, and it's based within this cafe, if you will, just small unknown cafe, like in a back alley. I can't remember if it's based in Japan. I want to say it's based in Japan. And from what I read, the author wrote this book years ago. I want to say in like 2015, but it was recently translated to English not too long ago, maybe like a year or two ago. And so, in all things, this book right here, it was very nice. Four, I want to say 4 chapters, but it's really just 4 short stories. One is called Between Lovers. The other one is Husband and Wife. The next one is The Sisters. And then the last one is Mother and Child. And so, basically, this cafe gains, and I apologize if it's spoilers. We just gonna go right into it. Go get it. I got it on sale at Target. It was like 30% off this past weekend, which like was huge. But it's everywhere. Target, Walmart, Second and Charles. If y'all have that bookstore anywhere near you, it's amazing. Second and Charles, Amazon, it's everywhere. And so no triggers really. If anything, maybe grief. But that's with 2, I guess you could say really all of the stories, all 4 in some way, shape, or form. But we just gonna go right into it. So it's based in this cafe. And again, these words were translated into the English language. So going based off memory, excuse me. Going based off memory, I want to say the name of the cafe was Funaguli, Funaguli, twice. Funaguli. And is these I wouldn't even know if you would call them owners. Like they are running a cafe. The wife's name is Kai, and the husband's name is Nagari. And so they are husband and wife. And then it's a I want to say, I forgot the waitress's name. I want to say I don't believe it's Kazu, but it could be Kazu. And then it's some regulars. Fusugari or Fusagari or Fusugari, Nakari, no, Kotaki. I remember that K-O-H, excuse me, Kohtake, Kotaki. Even though that was her maiden name, she is Fusugari's wife. So it's Mr. and Mrs. Fusugari. It's another regular. Her name is Harai. Harai, yes. And it starts off with a patron, Fusikimo. In all things, you just have to read the book. Please forgive me for the names. Like, I legit finished reading them, but they're not like I'm not even going to say like your everyday names. It's not like a John or Ashley. But it's of, names of a different culture. So, it's beautiful. I just love Kotaki. Kowataki. I pronounce it Kotaki. I think that it's beautiful. But in all things, it's not rumors, but it's stories going around saying that within this particular cafe, there is this one chair that you can sit in within the cafe that can take you back to the past. And it can take you back to the past, but even if you utilize this chair, it will change nothing in the future. Like, nothing will be changed. So, throughout periods of the book, it was just like, what's the point of going back in the past if you can't change, the outcome of it? So, in all things, it was lessons learned with the first story. The lovers basically saying how this couple, they had been together, I want to say, for about 3 years. The woman was 3 years his senior, and they were young, like 23, 26. But it starts off in the meeting at the cafe, and he tells her that he's leaving for America because I want to say it's based in, like, they're living in China. And so one of the territories, I do apologize. I'm trying to get my nerves right. So he tells her that he's leaving, and she's just like, we didn't discuss this. Like, how can you are you breaking up with me? Like, how? And so the story with her is that she goes back into the past. But the thing about this chair is that there are rules that you have to follow before you can go back in the past. And I want to say it's like 5 rules. It's really 4, but it's ultimately 5 rules. The last one, and they say this, is you have to drink the coffee before the coffee gets cold. If the coffee gets cold, then you will pretty much turn into a ghost. Because you have to do what you need to do, say what you need to say, see who you need to see before the coffee gets cold. And so it basically had you to, like, really think about what it is that you wanted to do, who you wanted to see. One of the rules was that whoever that person was going back in the past to see, that person had to have been in the cafe as well in the past, and they had to have been together in some way, shape, or form. So once you read the rules and stuff, it's unique. But at the end of everything, before they even poured the coffee in the cup for the person to go back in the past, they will say, remember, they say you have to drink this coffee before it gets cold. And so the first story, the lovers, she wants to go back to have a discussion with him, or at least tell him how she felt. I'm not going to give it all away. The second one was husband. Let me go back. I want to say husband and wife. Let me see. Husband and wife. Yep, husband and wife. So this story is between 2 of the regular patrons, Mr. and Mrs. Fugasi. Fugasi and Kataki, which again is her maiden name, but it's Mr. and Mrs. Fugasi. I'm gonna get it right. Just read it, but it was a good book. Their story, for him, it seemed like he was this grumpy old man, and he was always quiet. Very, he was one of few words, and and think about this chair. There is always a woman sitting in this chair. She's a ghost, but you could feel her. You could touch her, things of that nature. But no one could sit in that chair until she got up to go use the restroom. And she only got up to use the restroom one time a day. Didn't matter how long you had to wait. She didn't have any recollection. It didn't matter if it was day or night. Like it didn't, day and night didn't exist to her. So the only time in which people could sit in a chair was when she got up to go to the bathroom. And I guess whatever dream or whatever it was that people did, ironically, by the time they were finished, she came back from the bathroom and she was like, move. And they would always pour her, it was only one person that could pour her a cup of coffee. I want to say it was Kazoo. And so everybody had to wait until she got up. So the second one, the husband, he wanted to give his wife a letter. And she hadn't passed or anything like that. She came in, she was a nurse at the nearby hospital. And when she came in, she her husband had Parkinson's, or not Parkinson's, but he early onset of Alzheimer's. And so this particular day, he forgot his wife's name. And so she was just like, I don't know why, he would want to go back to the past to give me a letter. Like, why wouldn't he just give it to me now? But he couldn't. He was slowly starting, or progressively starting to lose his memory. And he had forgotten who she was. He had forgotten that she was his wife. And so that story was with that one. That ended up being really sweet with that story. The third one was called The Sisters. This was a story dealing with a patron, Harai, who came in all the time. She runs like this little shop or a bar not too far from where the cafe was. And on this particular day, her younger sister comes in, writes a super long letter. And, Harai doesn't want anything. Her name is Kumi, and Kumi, Kumi. And her sister, Harai, doesn't want to have anything to do with it. So long story short, something happens to Kumi. Harai wants to go back in the past and pretty much apologize. So that story comes out being heartwarming. And then the last one is Mother and Child. Now, one thing that I like throughout the course of this book is that the main characters are the same. So I don't know, like, if this is over the course of a few days. I don't know if this, I don't know. And I don't know the duration of when they go back in the past. But Kai, Nagari, Huzai, Kumi, or Harai, I'm sorry, Kuzu, and Fugasi, Miss Fugasi, they're all like consistent throughout the book. So it's not to say it has something to do with each of them, but it touches them each in a way where it's all connected and intertwined throughout the whole thing. The situations are different, but they're just steady looking out for each other. And you don't know the name of the ghost who's sitting in the chair. You just know it's a woman who's sitting there. She's reading a book and she's drinking coffee. And the only backstory that they give of her is that she went back in the past to speak with her husband. She lost track of time. Her coffee got cold and she turned into a ghost. That's the only thing that they talk about with this woman. So the fourth one was Mother and Child. Kai and Nagari were expecting. Again, I don't believe that they're owners of the cafe. The cafe is like almost 150 years old. And so I don't know if it's been passed down through generations. I just know that they're running it now. So they are expecting. But the thing is that Kai has a weak heart. And so the doctors were just like, you will not survive if you try to have this baby. Like, you made this decision, of course, you and your husband, but your condition with your heart, getting weaker and things of that nature will rapidly deteriorate the longer you go with this pregnancy. So throughout the book, the first three stories are talking about when the book goes in the past, But the fourth story talks about when it goes in the future, if it could go in the future. So she goes in the future. And that one ends bittersweet as well. So I feel like I gave too much of the book away. But the book was so, it left me not speechless, but in a sense where it was just like, wow, you know, not really take advantage of the time that you have, but just make the best of the relationships and communications and conversations that you have with people, instead of having a regret or having a moment where you feel like, maybe if I had just did X, Y, and Z, if I said X, Y, and Z, then it wouldn't be too late. And so it was a beautiful story. It was a beautiful book, and how it all went, because at first I was getting a little frustrated at first. I was just like, man, I like to remember names so that way I can make reference to characters for when I talk about the book. And it was just, I was like, I can't remember these names. I'm getting confused as to who is who and whose sister is who and who's married to who. And so I had patience with it, and I'm glad that I stuck with it. It is odd. It's a review on the back of the book where it says, and I quote, "This is a sweet fable-like tale about a magical seat in a cafe where you can, if you wish, go back in time. An odd read, but also a charming one." And that was with the Sydney Morning Herald. I will agree. I will definitely agree. It is an odd read, but it is a charming one as well. Like it pulls at your heartstrings a little bit. I was making a decision in the beginning of this video if I should get the second one or not. Like I said, it's already on my wish list. I think I am going to go ahead and get it and see how the second one flows. Please forgive me as I do not remember what the name of the second book is. Let me see. Yeah, I was looking in the back of the book and it doesn't show anything. But this was a very good book. I would definitely, like, it kind of, for someone, if you want to try and compare it to someone, it's kind of like the book that Mitch Albom writes. With Mitch Albom, it's kind of like, oh man, two people or five people that you would meet from heaven. I forgot. He has so many books that have come out. And so I love his books, The Five People Who You'll Meet in Heaven. And so I would compare it to that just a little bit, if I had to compare it to anybody. But if anything, it's very unique in its own way. I'm definitely intrigued. I'm glad that I bought the book and glad that I stuck with it. So again, for those who are interested, it's called Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. I'm gonna get it. And so it's 3 books in a series that I know of. I do not know if a 4th is currently being written, but I do know that there are 3. And so if you have any thoughts, let me know what they are. I genuinely like that. So it is now 11 o'clock my time. I had the opportunity to go to bed at 8 o'clock, but I was just like, you know what? Let me just read a little bit of this book. Next thing I know, the book is done, literally. So, in all things, definitely go check it out, Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. And this is Felicia with The Book Is Done. Y'all have a good evening. Good night.